Well, this one came out of nowhere for me. Holy jeez. And yeah, if there were ever an album to really solidify where I am right now, I think this one would be it. All Thoughts Fly from Anna von Hausswolff. Hausswolff. Hausswolff? I think it's Hausswolff. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to go with that one. So, Anna is a Swedish crossover independent musician. She does brilliant experimental music. I loved her last album of Dead Magic, released in 2018. And yeah, all of her stuff is very experimental, very noise rock, pushing the boundaries, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. Dead Magic, I thought, was just brilliant. And I feel like she took everything that she learned from Dead Magic and applied it to All Thoughts Fly, this album here. Holy jeez. Yeah, this thing sounds like if Hans Zimmer, from his soundtrack of Interstellar, had a child with Philip Glass from like The Photographer. That kind of minimalistic approach to music where it's like a reworking of the same meter kind of over and over and over again, while also having this big, grand, soundscapey organ work that we had from Interstellar with Hans Zimmer. And that's kind of what we have on All Thoughts Fly. I'm loving this. I am just loving this. I'm loving how just through the organ itself, so many different sounds and soundscapes are able to be created. Right off the get-go with Theater of Nature, where we have these big, meaty bottoms where it's just like, bow, 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 but in this very minimalistic singularity approach where there's not a whole lot of extra sounds to create this big sound. It's really just the organ work on that. Then we have like very, very small pieces like we have on Sarko Bosco, where at first it's just like the very soft and very airy feelings that we had, and then it slowly builds itself up. And even with the second track of Dolores di Orsini, I think that's it, this one in particular is very, very haunting. Like it feels like it's being played in an empty cathedral with like skyscraper high arched ceilings, with the sound reverberating off of everything. And it's just like this lone creature playing this forgotten organ. And it isn't until like the once we get into almost like the third piece, like the third track, that this personality is starting to be brought forth. Honestly, though, my favorite track is probably Persephone, the fourth track off of this. Like, it reminds me of Mogwai's Singing Mountain, where it's extremely impressionistic and it's almost like doom metal or like sleep metal or drone metal in that sense, where it's like I'm thinking of Bell Witch with the Mirror Reaper, where the notes will change very sporadically and very organically, but not very quickly. Like it's very like a note will change here and there, while everything else around it is blending itself into this orchestration of sound. It's almost creating the cathedral. It's no longer them playing in this cathedral. It's them slowly building it up into this grand, epic scale of things. And I'm feeling myself almost transitioning into a higher life form while I'm listening to this music. Like I'm feeling myself drift away to a point where it's like almost an out-of-body experience. So Persephone for me is my favorite track off of this whole piece, with how slow burning it is and how monumental and Goliath it becomes by the end of the track. Like I feel myself moved beyond measure once that note sequence changes. And it's interesting because the track that follows up Persephone, Endearing, I feel like there's another personality found on this one. I feel like there's an individual sitting at a writing desk with a typewriter, because you hear like a type, but it's only like a consecutive strike of a key. And so it's not really like a typewriter where you hear like da 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 da, and it's providing kind of like the groundwork of the percussion. This is just like a single key. So it almost feels like somebody's pushing the backspace or spacebar over and over again to either move the cursor forward or back, and nothing's actually being produced. Either it's the backspace and something is getting rewritten or erased, or it's the spacebar and something is continuing without actually putting anything new down. It's almost like saving the space for something else. And I kind of like that because it feels like it's a prelude to All Thoughts Fly, the title track. And All Thoughts Fly took what I loved from Hans Zimmer's Interstellar soundtrack and just ramped it up to 11, because we've got these high stroked keys just noodling away, and it's really providing the foundation. Like normally those keys are providing the actual structure and leading figures for the track. This one is providing more of the foundation and groundwork for the track. It's all the bass and guttural tones that we have on the organ that's actually providing the main structure for the track. And again, this is that marriage between Hans Zimmer and Philip Glass, where really it's that Hans Zimmer quality while using the techniques of Philip Glass, where really like it's these interconnecting and interlocking notes on the high-end organ that are really just repeating maybe 3 notes over and over and over again. But because there's like 4 or 5 of these repeating notes that are going about the same time and interlocking and changing, it's providing almost this like gear work that are continuously changing over different sizes of gears, and the picture is constantly changing because of that. It's almost like trying to like hang on to swirls of colors while they're swirling in a glass jar. There's never any real perch, but where normally that would be a negative, where I always say like the song doesn't have any perch. In this setting, it's very much so a positive, because that I feel is the essence and concept of this album, where you're trying to think about something and nothing's really coming through. Like it's reminding me of All Things at the End of Time by The Caretaker, with this decaying memory. Like I feel like this is very precognition, where you're trying to think of something and it's never really coming through. I love it. I really do. I love it. And then the final track of Outside the Gates for Bruna. It's heart-wrenching. It is so intimate and so heavenly, because up to that point, we've gone through all these different styles, these different guttural, at times demonic, at times angelic, but never really divine playing styles. And on Outside the Gates, it really feels like a passage has been taken place. It feels like a very final aspect. There's these heavenly soars, there's almost vocalizations, and it might just be Anna singing herself, providing and harmonizing with the organ that's surrounding it. And it provides this kind of like crossing of the threshold, a crossing of a Rubicon of some kind, where there's no more coming back. A transition has occurred, and we're celebrating, we're mourning, we're acknowledging this passing. And I found myself getting extremely emotional at the end of this, and it was the first time up to that point where it was very optimistic and playing in a major chord as a unified whole, as opposed to aspects blending itself in major chords and harmonizing with minor chords. Yeah, Outside the Gates just made me very emotional, and I couldn't help but essentially weep by the end of this. So yeah, I loved All Thoughts Fly from Anna. It really blew me out of the water. It came out of nowhere and hit me like a sack of bricks being driven by a transport truck. I was not ready for this, and even when I sit down and know what I'm getting into, I still feel myself getting so moved by this. And I think we have it. I think we have our first one of the year. I mean, it took until the ending of September coming into October for it, but I'm ready to do it. You know, this is one that I'm without hesitation on. There's not a doubt in my mind about this one. All Thoughts Fly from Anna von Hausswolff is an absolute masterpiece.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
I really, really found myself moved beyond measure No album up to this point in this year has moved me like this album has. It's a perfect summarization of where I am right now and what this year has done. Go out and listen to it. Really do. Listen to it. Turn off all the lights, close your eyes, and get yourself moved from this album, because by the end of it, if you're not moved, I don't know what to do for you. And that's my thoughts on All Thoughts Fly from Anna von Hausswolff. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know of your own thoughts by commenting down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Go and check out my podcast, Quid Prog Quo. It's out wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'll have to introduce this one definitely to one of my friends in the coming years through that podcast. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really go out and enjoy this one. Take your time with it. Really digest it. And yeah, report back to me at the end of it. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Until next time, notes out.